It says record. Great. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. I'm Dee Boyle-Clapp. I'm the Director of the Arts Extension Service at UMass Amherst. We're going to kick off with our land acknowledgement. The University of Massachusetts Amherst acknowledges that it was founded and built on the unceded homelands of the Pecumtuck Nation on the land of the Norwota community. We begin with gratitude for nearby waters and lands. We recognize these lands and waters as important relations with which we are all interconnected and depend on to sustain life and well-being. The Pecumtuck had connections with these lands for millennia. Over 400 years of colonization, when Pecumtuck peoples were displaced, many joined their Algonquin relatives to the east, south, west, and north. That includes Mashpee and Okinawa Wampanoag, Nipmuc, Narragansett, Mohican, Pequot, and Mohican communities, and Abenaki and other nations of the Wabanaki Confederacy. These Native peoples still maintain connections and relationships of care for these lands today. We also acknowledge that the University of Massachusetts Amherst is a land-grant university. As part of the Morrill Land Grant Act, portions of land from 82 Native nations west of the Mississippi were sold to provide the resources to found and build this university. As an active step towards decolonization, we encourage you to learn more about the Native nations whose homelands UMass Amherst now resides on, and the indigenous homelands on which you live and work. We also invite you to deepen your relationship to these living lands and waters. That's hard to read, I have to admit. The ArtsHub actually believes that while we can't erase this nation's tragic history, we are committed to promoting an understanding of the rich heritage and contemporary contributions of the indigenous people in our region, and to work together to reframe the narrative to one that is accurate. We will do this by working with indigenous community liaisons to document the important and vast indigenous arts community working in the region, highlight profiles of indigenous creatives on the ArtsHub website, create feature articles on indigenous artists and their work, create collaborative opportunities, help shape the content and future direction of the ArtsHub, seek out Native artists and creatives to offer support in the form of access to workshops and projects on the ArtsHub website. Reaching and representing all communities in our region is central to the ArtsHub, and it will be an ongoing effort. And while the ArtsHub Summit Committee acknowledges that the summit presenters do not represent every culture, this is only a beginning. The ArtsHub has sought and secured funds from the Community Foundation of Western Mass to bring on 4 paid community liaisons to reach out to their networks and bring them to the ArtsHub, and simultaneously inform the ArtsHub of what it needs to do to better serve these creatives. If you can be instrumental in supporting this effort, please join us. I also invite everyone to join us on Friday at the Building Momentum, Building the ArtsHub, so you can take part in the evolution of this regional resource. Finally, please watch your email for a link to these summit recordings and our evaluation form. And we plan to share these emails, the emails of all participants. So if you don't want to participate or share your information, please be sure to opt out. So I thank you again, and I'm going to turn this over to Lisa Duvall.
Hi, I'm Lisa Duvall from the Franklin County Chamber of Commerce and also co-coordinator of the new ArtsHub. Welcome to this ArtsHub-centric presentation. The ArtsHub, CreativeGround, and you, how to be seen and get found online. Learn about how the new CreativeGround and ArtsHub of Western Mass platforms, how to use them in order to gain more exposure, meet fellow creatives, and amplify your visibility within the arts community and beyond. You'll learn about how the 2 platforms complement each other, how to participate and get listed, as well as where things go from here and a roadmap for the future. I'd like to welcome Dee Schneiderman from NIFA, which is the New England Foundation for the Arts, and Blair Winans from Rhyme Digital. Dee, as NIFA's Senior Program Director for Research and Creative Economy, Dee oversees data collection, documentation, and creative economy initiatives at NIFA. These include the New England Creative Economy Reports on Creative Sector and its nonprofit subset, CreativeGround, the New England's online directory and research database of creative enterprises and artists, regional events such as the Creative Communities Exchange, knowledge sharing projects, and NIFA program evaluation. Before coming to work at NIFA in January of 2006, Dee worked in a variety of nonprofit and business settings, utilizing her background in the performing arts and to develop trainings and workshops geared toward personal growth and creative learning of both children and adults. She holds a master's degree in educational psychology from the University of Virginia, where she focused on imperial research in the fields of creativity, human development, and assessment. and Blair Winans. Blair grew up in Western Mass, and aside from a brief stint in Boston working for various design and advertising agencies, he's lived here his entire life. He's run his own agency in Western Mass since 2005, focused primarily on delivering digital marketing and website campaigns. His small team of developers, designers, and social media advertising specialists have helped deliver results for numerous clients across a wide variety of industries, including tourism, education, manufacturing, restaurants, hospitality, publishing, and the arts. Blair and Rhyme are currently responsible for the development of the ArtsHub website, bringing to life an idea that has been years in the making. Well, we're very happy to have you here and for you to really delve into the nuts and bolts of how we all can get found and use the ArtsHub.
Thanks, Lisa. I'm just going to share my screen right now. Yeah, this has been a really fun and it's just a really great moment here to have this unveiling here at the summit. And we're really excited to talk to you about, that Dee and I both CreativeGround and the ArtsHub, because they're very, very closely tied. And for those of you who don't know what CreativeGround is, Dee's here to help explain. And Lisa already did our introductions. Dee from NIFA and in charge of CreativeGround. I'm from Rhyme Digital here, working on the ArtsHub website. What we'd like to just start off with is just ask everybody to drop. We're curious about what everyone's experience is and where you're from, what your type of creative you might be. We'd love for everybody to just drop something in the chat to get to know each other and see the range of people that we have attending today. I think that'd be really helpful for us. But I think that in order to understand the ArtsHub and everything, how this has all kind of come to fruition, we really need to go back and to look at CreativeGround and creativeground.org. And I'm going to let Dee kind of take over now and explain, what CreativeGround is, and we'll kind of dive into how it relates to the ArtsHub.
Thanks, Blair. And I'm doing this while watching this awesome scroll of people putting in the different hats that they wear, the different roles that they play into the chat. It's so great to be with you all. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here. And as Blair said, this partnership between CreativeGround, NIFA, and ArtsHub is really exciting for us. So for those of you who don't know, CreativeGround is NIFA's, as it says in the slide, free online cultural directory. So that means that we are a big free platform to provide visibility and connection to all of the creatives across the 6 New England states. So if you're a poet, a potter, if you are a museum, if you're a gallery, if you're a library, if you're a makerspace, then you belong on CreativeGround. Because it's online and because it's free for everyone to be posted and search. Of course, you can then gain visibility not only across the region, but across the world. Anyone with an internet connection can find you. And we are very New England centric. Only those in New England, creatives in New England, can post and update their own profiles. So we're going to take a look at the site a little bit, and once we talk a little bit about this relationship between CreativeGround and the ArtsHub and why we're very excited about it.
And just to hop onto that, like CreativeGround, it's all, a lot of what we're going to stress here today is that everything is very user generated, as you can see here. Like we're relying a lot on the contributions from the creative community in order to populate a lot of the information on these sites. And that's just a really key point for both CreativeGround and the ArtsHub. So what the ArtsHub is going to essentially be, CreativeGround being the New England entity, the intent here is to have something that's very focused and centric to Western Mass. So while CreativeGround is going to be kind of the core entity where, all of these, your listing and your profile is going to be, generated from. The ArtsHub itself is going to be the place where Western Mass centric information and listings live. And this is really, it's just important. We want people to just understand how this whole relationship is going to come together. Right now, the CreativeGround. Go ahead, Dee. Yeah.
Yeah, so many of you are familiar with the current creativeground.org, and we're going to show that to you today just to have some good reminders and show where those important linkages are going to be with the new ArtsHub. But we are in the midst of a major upgrade of CreativeGround. It's going to have a new look and feel. It's going to have more user-friendly search options, more user-friendly ways to update your profile. And what's very important here, of course, is that it's going to have what's called an API, which allows local partners like the ArtsHub to actually pull data right from CreativeGround into another website. So you're going to have one place to update your information in CreativeGround, and it's going to show there, and also in the ArtsHub. And you'll see the designs are different. And it really, hopefully, kind of gives you more bang for your buck, so to speak, and really provides visibility for you and opportunity to connect not only across New England, but of course, then more locally within Western Mass. So that's why we're so excited.
And we're in this kind of like we kind of created this graphic here to explain where we're at in the process, because the ArtsHub starting now during obviously this week, just kind of getting up and off the ground. As Dee mentioned, CreativeGround is about to launch this new much more robust interface to their site. And right now we're kind of in a little bit of a period right here where you can see these a couple different timelines across here, just trying to explain where we're grabbing the data from. Right now we're waiting. Dee's in the process of getting ready to launch this new version of the site. We're not ready to pull all that information from the new site into ArtsHub right now. But essentially, we're trying to explain here that, when that new site launches, ArtsHub will then have access to that data. So it's still really important for everybody who wants to be a part of the ArtsHub to go and create a profile on CreativeGround, but know that there's going to be more happening once we're able to do that final connection to everything.
Yeah, I thought, Blair, I thought the way that you described it as a testing phase,
right,
was really helpful and might be helpful for folks. So where we are is kind of that left-hand part of the slide where the current creativeground.org is live. I'm going to show that to you. The ArtsHub has been developed. We're testing out that connection between kind of, the current, soon to be old CreativeGround, and we're testing out all the different connections that we have. So ArtsHub is live, and Blair's going to show that. And, the current CreativeGround is here and available for you to make updates on your profiles, and all of those will then migrate over to the new CreativeGround and then to the ArtsHub once we kind of update the site. So we wanted to show you everything kind of as it's being tested out, because as you work with it, we learn a lot. So thank you in advance for your effort.
Exactly. And all of these are being done in parallel with the goal of, having this connection, seamless connection once everything is up and off the ground.
Yeah.
And just a little bit of why this all matters and CreativeGround, like, Dee kind of talked a little bit about that, but it's just, we really, creating this Western Mass centric version of CreativeGround that's specific to the ArtsHub lets us pull in those profiles, but also other content related to the creative economy and creative community that is Western Mass specific as well. And we'll dive into a little bit of that. But again, a lot of this is how do we create a hub that works for the creative economy in Western Mass. while giving everyone access. Obviously, CreativeGround is New England and nation and much more further reaching as well. So you get kind of the best of both worlds. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dee to share her screen and talk a little bit about CreativeGround.
Yeah, let's dig in. I am scrolling through the chat. I encourage people to keep dropping in kind of who you are and what you do. Of course, many of you wear many hats and have many roles. And so I'm gonna, gear some of this to both individual artists and creatives, but of course, there are, I see studios, art studios, theaters. So this is the current creativeground.org. And I will pause and say, I'm going to show CreativeGround. We're going to look at ArtsHub, and then we will have some time for questions as well. So if you have questions, along the way, just kind of, you can jot them in the chat now, or you can jot them down for yourself and remember to ask them at the end. So as you can see from the homepage of CreativeGround, kind of the primary features or actions of the site, calls to action as they're called, are search and the two big buttons, search and get listed. So we're of course gonna focus on those. And then we feature different profiles every couple months because CreativeGround is for not only individual artists and creatives, but arts and culture nonprofits, creative businesses. We wanna make sure that people really see the breadth of who they can search for in CreativeGround. So you can search by keyword, of course, or by different profile types, or by state. And these are some notes. This is a place where we talk about kind of some resources that are specific to the time. Just scrolling down quickly so you can get a sense of the kind of depth of information on CreativeGround. We show some information from NIFA's background in doing creative economy research. I will say CreativeGround is kind of the combination of both a visibility and connection platform and also a research database. So it really helps us by you creating profiles and updating your profiles. It helps not only NIFA, but your local community really understand the assets of their community, both within Western Mass and across New England, so that we can drive more resources to the region. Of course, that is the ultimate goal of all of this. So I'm scrolling down just so you can see that at the bottom of every page, there is a link to contact NIFA staff through CreativeGround. So if you don't get your question answered today, you're welcome to contact us through the website at any time. You can even sign up for one-on-one help as well. So I'm going to kind of scroll all the way back up just to show initially a profile. So we're gonna start looking for one. So I'm gonna show a profile that we're going to look at in ArtsHub later so that you can kind of see how they're slightly different. So if you look for a profile within a keyword search, or if you know the exact profile name, you can put that in the profile name field. You'll see that this is how the search results kind of show up with some mapping of anyone on this page. And we want to look at a profile, and then I'm going to show you how everything on the profile is searchable. So this is kind of the little teaser about this profile. This is their main profile image. Double Edge Theater is, of course, in Western Mass, and they are a NIFA grant recipient, and this is an artist profile. So that is what kind of pops up when you hover over these little icons. So let's look at the Double Edge Theater profile. I'm just clicking on the link to their profile. So this is where this organization has decided what image they want to be their main profile image. They've filled in their kind of narrative description of who they are and what they do. This is where you get to be creative and express your work however you would like. We do recommend, just a tip, that in your sort of narrative summary space, you really think about how people are going to search for your profile, what keywords they're going to use to look for an entity like yours. The format is pretty consistent across the different profiles. So you'll see as we scroll down, there's an image and video gallery where you can upload up to 10 images or embedded videos, and people can play the videos right from within your profile. You can include ways to contact you through Facebook or Twitter, most importantly, through email. So we really are encouraging everyone to contact each other through their CreativeGround profiles, your website, of course, and then any additional links of things that you weren't able to put into either the image gallery or the Facebook or Twitter icon. The new site will have an Instagram icon as well, and some more opportunities to upload links to your work. Now, if I scroll down on this left-hand side, we also have a very important section called I Have Work With, which lets you demonstrate who you partner with. It might be people who've hired you as an artist for our organizations in the room. It might be artists with whom you've worked. It might be other organizations with whom you partner. This is really the opportunity. We call it your top 25. You can put in up to 25 relationships. This is where you really demonstrate who you work with, who has hired you, when you worked with them, and what you did with them, so that anyone coming to view your profile, wanting to work with you, gets a sense of, oh, you know, this is what they've done with this entity, so I know that entity, or it gives me a sense of kind of the kind of work you want to repeat. That I Have Worked With section allows you to kind of curate the past partnerships that you've had that you want to repeat. So now if I scroll back up and just show this right-hand side, basic contact information, as you can see, make sure everyone can reach out to you. And then these are kind of checkbox fields, things that you check off, the activities and services that you or your organization does professionally, when the entity was founded, what populations you work with, what languages might be available, and when this entity is sort of active, right? When you're working, who you like to reach. Then, of course, you can put in awards, professional associations, if you're a grant recipient by NEFA or by the Mass Cultural Council. And then, very importantly, what accessibility accommodations you provide. We have some special sections for special designations on a profile. We do feature artists who tour and who teach in various settings. And then really importantly, at the bottom of every profile, there are these what we call kind of administrator links, where you can submit a suggestion for a profile if you are not from this entity. Or if you are, let's say you find a profile for a nonprofit organization where you're a board member, volunteer, or a staff person, and you want to update that profile, you can request management of the profile. And this will basically just open up a little web form. You have to log in or create an account. It's free and easy. I'll show you how to do that in a second. And then once you have management of the profile, you can log in and edit it directly. Profiles for artists have all been created by the artist or individual creative entity, but nonprofit, a lot of those profiles have come from previously available kind of public information, like the IRS database. And so we really encourage, if you are affiliated with a nonprofit, to find that nonprofit organization through the search and claim that profile. So, excuse me, I'm going to do a search, another search, and focus a little bit more on search, but keep in mind that everything that we looked at on this profile is searchable. So the current CreativeGround has two options for search. One is search and one is explore. I'm going to show you both very quickly. And the new site actually combines search and explore, which are kind of the best features of both. So the search options are sort of what we're used to, either a keyword search like on Google, or these kind of filters where you would click off one state or states next door to you, if you live in certain parts of Massachusetts that are right near New Hampshire or Rhode Island. And then there are many, many more fields within the advanced search. So all I did was click on that advanced search header to kind of expand it. You can search within distance of a postal code. You can search for a particular institution or business type. This field gives you a real sense of the breadth of who is on CreativeGround. So arts councils who provide funding, cultural series organizations who hire artists, design agencies, humanities councils, independent presses, and libraries. So this really is intended to really demonstrate the breadth of who is in the creative community. So as you saw, these are all the fields that we saw on the profile.
Can I say something quickly?
Sure.
Do you want to take questions at the end or as they come up? Because there've been a flurry
we'll do, oh, okay. Yeah. Is there a question that makes sense for me?
Well,
Sure.
there's been a few questions in the chat, and I didn't know whether you wanted to address them in real time or wait until your Q&A period.
I think we can do it at the end. I've been
Okay.
paying attention to them as they've been coming in.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you. So yeah, okay, great. So I'm just noting the time. So I'm going to do a keyword search, and we'll say in Massachusetts. So if I want to, oops, but I have to spell it properly. So if I want to search for something like murals, then it will give me the initial results. Like I said, it'll map the results. It defaults to 10 on a page of results, but you can expand the list if you'd like. But you can see that this initial list that I might be scrolling through, this main profile image is crucial, right? So you want to upload an image of your work or your organization in action and not a headshot, because just by glancing through this list, I can immediately see what this person does in terms of ceramic sculpture. It's a little harder for me to tell what this person does, or so they are holding paint next to a mural. So thank you, Sophie. Well done. So this gives you the sense of, these preliminary results, and then I can continue to filter these results down with any of these checkboxes on the left-hand side. So if I want to make sure, I want to look for someone who does their work in a language that I'm interested in, then I can check that off. And very importantly, like we said, has someone with accessibility of services that I might need. So Explore is the alternative to search. And instead of basically starting with a blank slate and building up, Explore starts with all of the profiles, over 30,000, and then lets you kind of filter down. This is kind of like a shopping website some of you may be familiar with. So if I want to see specifically certain cities and towns within Massachusetts, I would click Massachusetts and the apply button. And then I see all the towns in Massachusetts, and you'll see the numbers next to the town tells you how many profiles there are. And so you'll see that as I'm clicking on one filter, all of the other numbers are changing, right? So now I'm looking just at the profiles in Amherst, and this tells me what types of institution and business types we have for these profiles. We've got 4 art service organizations, 1 cinema. That's kind of how the Explorer works. The new site combines the features of search and explore, and you can do both. You can either do a keyword search or kind of use the facets to continue to narrow down your search. So some other kind of exciting features of the new site are going to be that we'll retain the mapping ability, so you can see up to 200 results on a map, and you'll actually be able to sort the profiles. So right now they default to alphabetical, but you'll have different sorting options on the new site for your search results, which can be sort of handy. So I wanted to quickly show you how to get listed, because searching is the one main feature, but you also want to either create a profile for your creative entity or update one, as I mentioned, that might already exist. So you just click on the Get Listed button. It's going to ask you to either create an account, and all you need to do to create the initial account is to fill in these fields on the right-hand side, basically name and password, and say whether you'd like to receive updates from CreativeGround, which I do encourage because we send out information about opportunities from across New England. And our small, mighty region means that, you know, we can really take advantage of opportunities across state lines. And now with virtual events, a lot of, I will say as a funder, our grants we have adjusted so that virtual events are eligible. So keep that in mind. We have added that feature actually onto the profile. So under the activities and services, I forgot to mention that we do have virtual events now that you can put on your profile so people can search for you looking for someone who does virtual events as well. So it's easy to create a new account. I'm going to just log in and show you the form. Oops. And your username is your email. If you need to reset your password at any time, you can do that. There was a link there. So as soon as I log in, I can see my user account dashboard. And I already manage this public profile called NEFA Loves CreativeGround, which is of course a test profile. If you don't have any public profiles already showing here, as you can see from the instructions, you can either go request the management of a profile that exists, as I showed you earlier, or you can create a new public profile. And I'll just show you, this is what this sort of back-end form looks like. This also is improved in the new site quite a bit, but it's basically an online form where, you know, it will walk you through filling in the fields. Anything that's required has the little asterisk. We give you instructions for kind of choosing images and uploading them. And we encourage you to do the kind of, if you're creating a new profile, do this initial section first, everything that kind of defaults open, all the required fields, and then go and save your work at the bottom. So you see, these are all like pretty straightforward. This doesn't take a lot of time because you're mostly just selecting the information. And then you kind of scroll down and save the initial profile. And then you can go back and add additional features to your profile, like images and videos, the I have worked with relationships that we talked about earlier, the affiliations and accomplishments like awards, and if you're a grant recipient. So it's pretty straightforward in terms of being step-by-step. We have improved the navigation with the new site quite a bit, but I think I will stop there. Were there any questions that you had, Blair, before we kind of
one of them that just came in while you're on here, Dee, is how does somebody claim a profile that's already been created?
Yeah, so let me show you that again really quickly. So at the bottom of every profile, so remember we were looking at that double edge profile. So at the bottom of every profile, there is a link that says request management of this profile. And by clicking that, I'm just going to, it automatically fills in which profile I'm requesting. I put in my name, it knows my email because I'm logged in, and then tell us your relationship to the profile and why you should directly edit the information in it, and confirm that you're not a robot. And this basically sends a form to the CreativeGround administrator team, and we will review, make sure that you are a staff or a board member of this entity, and then connect basically your email address to this profile. And then once we do that, it will show up on your dashboard, kind of on my account, it'll show up here. So then you can just edit it directly.
Another question, a few people asked the same question. How does the public find profiles? Like, how does NIFA market this to the public?
Yeah, so we're going to talk about that a little bit at the end. So not only does NIFA market it, it's the directory for the Mass Cultural Council and all of the New England State Arts agencies, but you too can get involved. So it really is a group effort. We promote CreativeGround, of course, at events, both virtual and in person, and through these ever-developing partnerships. But we have found that in many ways, the best kind of return on marketing investment is word of mouth, is by kind of local folks who really know who is in your community, inviting those who are not yet in the community to create profiles, update their profiles. The better your profiles look, the more we'll be able to spotlight you on the homepage or on the about page and in social media. We do promotion there as well. So it really is a group effort through, I would say, like, through the strategic partnerships, but we do advertise through events. But it's like, I'll never forget the answer that someone, a book agent said when someone asked, like, well, how do I get a book deal? Well, we start with having good quality of work, and then it allows us to promote the best profiles on the homepage and through our social media. So we'll be talking at the end of the session about kind of the 5 steps that you can do next to get involved in both CreativeGround and the ArtsHub. Great question. Okay, so I'm going to stop my share and hand it back over to Blair.
All right. So now Dee kind of went through CreativeGround, and again, yeah, what we're doing on the ArtsHub is pulling a lot of that same profile data, but also adding a lot more context around it that's very specific to Western Mass. And I do want to leave time for questions at the end, so I apologize if I go a little quickly. But this is the ArtsHub website. This is the homepage. When you come here, there's some featured articles with some artist spotlights. We have a welcome article as well that we're going to hopefully keep adding to and getting some content. We're going to be relying on everything from user generated suggestions and things so that we can keep populating this site with some featured artists and profiles and topics that are relevant to Western Mass. What we've also done on the ArtsHub site specifically is just really try and tailor a lot of what's the buzzword SEO, the search engine optimization on here to Western Mass specifically. You might see in the header at the tab, we're talking about the ArtsHub of Western Mass. A lot of the language and everything that revolves around the site is very specific to that. So it kind of creates this kind of microcosm context of, not only what's happening on the profiles at CreativeGround, but also here on the ArtsHub. We have some randomly generated highlighted profiles that we use to kind of draw some people in from the population of profiles that we've imported that are specific to Western Mass. These rotate, just about every hour. I think one of the questions in the chat also was, how often is the Arts Hub going to sync with CreativeGround? And the answer to that is probably every, half hour to an hour. I would say, it's pulling in, newer profiles that it sees that have been newly generated or updated. So again, important to keep, it'll be an automatic sync. There's nothing that you need to really worry about or do. Just to kind of mirror what Dee had shown you, the search works in a similar way. If you know the name of the profile that you're looking for, you start typing it in and you get this, kind of auto-generated suggestions on the search. Basically clicking on that will take you directly to a specific profile. We're in the process now of kind of still syncing data with the new version of CreativeGround, that development site, and pulling that in and still figuring out, a couple different things. It's been a bit of a learning process, going back and forth to make sure, we have a different format for some of the layouts here and how does that all fit in. But, it's all the same, similar information presented a little bit differently. We have some photo gallery, photo galleries here that are being pulled in for this profile. Again, the links to videos and all of the other, key pieces of information, the same things that are on CreativeGround. Again, we're kind of bringing all of that in here. And similarly, we have, the listing area here where you can go and explore profiles and narrow down by keywords, which search the entire profile, disciplines, which you can kind of search and narrow down different disciplines. There's different profile types. Dee, this is something we can talk about too at the end with questions. Is just people were asking, how do I get listed under multiple? I'm this type of entity that does these and these things. How do I create a profile for that? So we'll address that a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, the existing CreativeGround site, as you saw what Dee pointed out, there's a lot more things to filter by, and we'll be adding some of those things in on the Arts Hub as well as we get to that point. This is really kind of the initial stages here of getting these listings over here and onto the Arts Hub website. But you can see here, you can kind of go through and explore. The profiles open up in a pop-up window, so that if you're on a specific page, you can kind of read and see everything that is happening there, and you go right back to your search as you're in that. Should be pretty straightforward, at least right now, in terms of searching and filtering for different profile types. Again, one of the things that we're looking for is that there's a lot of profiles that just don't have that aren't fully filled out. And so our initial sorting when we're listing these are what's, we say most relevant. Really, we're looking for profiles that have the most percentage of stuff that's filled out by default. And I think that that's a huge thing to keep in mind, that, the more that you fill out your profile, the higher profile it is on both CreativeGround and the Arts Hub. It's one of those things that, the more information we have to work with, to search with, and everything, the more that you're in those categories, the better off it'll be. But the biggest thing, since, want to leave some time for questions, that I want to go through on the Arts Hub and what is going to make this the Arts Hub of Western Mass is, we want to give people the ability to list, a couple key things that are going to be relevant to Western Mass creatives. There's opportunities in the form of, potential funding sources and resources, as well as, individual opportunities. We have forms for all of these different things, funding, space available for exhibitions or what have you. different calls for art, as well as professional development opportunities in Western Mass for creatives. And we're hoping that this becomes a little bit of a bulletin board, message board for people to, post opportunities that are available. We have these submission forms set up for each one of the specific opportunities, where you can, kind of give it a label, headline, and fill out the pertinent information. And, we will get that submission and list it on the ArtsHub website. And what we're really trying to do is rely on the community to fill out a lot of this information to help make this useful. We also have an events calendar that is, essentially, no one person, I think, can go in and add all of these events. So what we're doing is looking for relevant calendars in the creative community and going out and actually scraping that information and trying to pull it into here to create a centralized calendar. You can see it's pulling from, some key calendars in the area right now, but we want, if people have individual events that they'd like to share, or if they have calendars that they're saying, hey, this would be, I'm posting some great events, this would be great to pull in, you can do that basically here on the ArtsHub website. There's a full calendar version that allows you to go through and explore what's happening on different days as you go through, different months of the year. But yeah, we want to just kind of bring everything into one place and show what's happening in Western Mass. There's a connect section that allows you where we've kind of looked at, what are some places where Western Mass creatives are, talking, connecting with each other, Facebook groups, meetups, Craigslist and things as well. This is an ever-growing list that we need your submissions in order to help populate. And then there's these news articles, where again, we want to just get some user-generated content onto the site to help tell stories about what makes the creative economy in Western Mass, the unique economy that it is. I do want to leave some time. I know we've got about 10 minutes left, and I want to leave time for some key questions on everything. I know that was a quick run through.
I thought we'd
Yep.
go till a quarter after. No?
I think it said 10 to
Discussion?
11. Lisa,
Oh,
let us
This
know.
is Dee. Hi, this is the other Dee. We can wrap up your talk. Typically, we've been asking people to just give it an hour, and then we'll take questions for another 15 minutes. We just
Okay.
want to be respectful of people's time.
Got it.
Thanks.
So yeah, again, you'll find in the opportunities tab, I'll just kind of roll through here, again, just little resources where we've started just pulling things here and there and populating content on the site, but just about every page has a link to a form that somebody can submit, different opportunities. Again, calls for art, same thing. We have some resources where you can go and link to and find those different things. But if there is something that we find and people can submit it, we're pulling that information in on here. And again, the intent is to create a little bit of a message board or at least a bulletin board for people to post all of these opportunities and have them all in one place so that they can look for that. Other directories that we have, local cultural councils, cultural districts in the area, basically a visit tab that's encouraging people to explore the different tourism and agencies in Western Massachusetts and help, this is more intended for the general public. Just some about section that's has some information about how to get listed on CreativeGround, because that's basically what's going to help drive this entire ArtsHub site in the future. There's obviously everything is been set up, mobile friendly. There's a full menu of everything that you can explore on the site here. Down in the footer here, you'll find some helpful links, as well as, how do I get my profile, things like getting my profile listed on the site, adding different venues to listings or anything like that. Again, we're kind of in
Blair,
phase.
a question.
Yep, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to ask a question that we get a lot about the profiles, and I was curious about these additional kind of areas of ArtsHub. Are they curated? Like when people post things, how do they become public? Are they vetted or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, on the profiles themselves or the content for directory
The additional
submissions?
content, because the profiles will be vetting through CreativeGround, so I can answer that part of the question. But I was kind of curious about the because these other kind of areas that you're adding onto the directory, the profiles in ArtsHub are so exciting and can really only be done on the local level. And these are things that we have been asked for New England wide for a long time. So I just wanted to really highlight these additional features because they're amazing.
So yeah, they are going, so everything that gets submitted through the ArtsHub directory, whether, whatever submission it is for funding or call for art or anything like that, obviously whenever you have a form on the internet, I think everybody knows that, spam will eventually find its way through. So we didn't want to just automatically publish it onto the website and then have this all turn into just a bunch of gobbledygook. So it is, kind of a curated, somebody is looking at those submissions and just saying like, yes, okay, this looks legit, and approving it for being published on the website. Same thing with events and things like that, just to make sure that we keep a little bit of some guardrails up on the site and help to make sure that it has, quality content. And that kind of leads into, I think one of the major questions that I saw come up on the chat was, and Dee, you talked about a little bit, what is NIFA doing to promote CreativeGround and how does that work? We've done a lot of build up to get the ArtsHub, the website, into the shape that it is. And to promote the summit that you guys are all attending right now, but there's going to be an ongoing effort over the next several months to help get the word out, both on social media and paid advertising, to just really highlight this, the ArtsHub, and focusing it on a couple different audiences. There's obviously, we want artists to sign up. And creatives to sign up in all sorts of creative organizations to be on CreativeGround and then pull them into the ArtsHub, because that's what's going to help make this site robust. But also, how do we communicate everything that's happening here also to the general public, so that they know, hey, this is the place to go find people for, we actually, it's kind of funny because, even though we haven't been promoting the site itself until this week, we have started to get, inquiries through the contact forms on the site of people looking to, like, hey, I have an event in May. I'm looking for somebody, that would be a comedian or improv troupe or something like that. Is there anybody that you would recommend? So our goal of making this Western Mass centric, helps a lot in the search engine results that come up when people start Googling for different things. And, our hope is that we do enough good of a job optimizing the content that's on this ArtsHub website to be able to pull those people in organically and help complement the paid promotion that we're going to be doing.
Yeah. So I'm going to drop the link in the chat to the CreativeGround Get Involved page to answer, I think, someone's questions. Yes, we do have a marketing plan, and suggestions are always welcome. So like I mentioned before, we do sponsorships. There are various ways for you to kind of help promote the site as well. As we talked about, you can create or update a public profile. You can request management of an existing profile. We looked at that. There are logos on that Get Involved page that you can download, put in your email signature, make sure people know that you have this free online portfolio, essentially, on CreativeGround, that it is used by funders like NEFA and state arts agencies. We have a lot of interest from the City of Boston and the Boston Foundation to use CreativeGround along with their grant applications as well. So as I mentioned before, these strategic partnerships, especially when we are very focused on the technical upgrade of CreativeGround right now, but even as we're doing that, we're kind of developing these partnerships alongside kind of with the technical element of, you know, who's going to be using it, continue to incentivize everyone's participation. And as Blair mentioned, CreativeGround and the ArtsHub are not just for the arts and culture and creative community. We are bridges to the creative community for a lot of people who are not familiar with the arts sector. Economic development folks, chambers of commerce, thank you, Lisa, represent, you know, community development folks, city planners, city managers. So, you know, having really a place for those folks to go where they feel they can really contact and connect with artists and organizations, either on projects or, you know, community development initiatives. We do a lot of that work through NEFA's sort of other creative economy work. So this is really kind of this hub. I love that it's called the ArtsHub because, you know, CreativeGround is really intended to be a hub as well, not only for the creative community, but for those outside of the creative community who really need to understand how to plug in, how to really connect to their local creative assets. So let's kind of scroll through. Oh, sorry, we said we would do our top 5. So I did the top 2, update your profile, you can download logos. There are audience specific handouts on the Get Involved page as well. You know, you can put a line in your email signature directing people to your CreativeGround profile or to your profile on the ArtsHub. You can post to social media or repost NEFA's posts on social media. And as I mentioned, you can always use that contact form at the bottom of every page on CreativeGround with any technical questions. I remember that one that we get most often, which is about, I have many businesses. How does that get represented on one profile? So we do kind of tend to respond to those questions somewhat on a case-by-case basis. So feel free to reach out. But typically, if the entity files taxes separately, it should have a separate profile. So you really only want to have separate profiles for separate entities, not just separate programs or different kinds of work. Because within your CreativeGround profile, you can share all the disciplines of your work, all the activities and services that you provide. If that's all under one business name, then we would encourage you to do that within one profile. But if it really doesn't work for you to do that, then we can kind of coach you about that specifically.
Yes, but I think you want to hear what I have to say first. I'm the treasurer, and I'm going to put into the chat where people can find me on Venmo.
Great, perfect. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome.
What's going on?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think we might need someone to mute themselves who maybe didn't intend for us to hear that part of their conversation. Are there other?
One of the questions that
I want to scroll back up to the beginning.
Yeah, so one of them is after one submits an event, sometimes an update is needed. Can they do that on site? So the one thing that we didn't want to do is create another login for you on the ArtsHub to be able to do that. So, you know, unfortunately, like, you know, if you submit an event and there needs to be a change, you know, I would suggest using the contact form or resubmit the event itself with the updated information. And because everything, you know, we essentially, somebody's looking at that every time it comes in, they'll know to say, like, you know, okay, well, this one overrides the current event that's there, and do that. So we didn't want to have maintainable, logins for CreativeGround and ArtsHub and make that confusing.
Yeah. Oh, and I saw a few questions about finding resources. Like, yes, the images and the video are so important to have, not only in CreativeGround and ArtsHub, but and the online presence. That's why we make this online portfolio free, because we want you to, frankly, be spending your resources on creating materials and not on creating a website. So the resources that are linked to within the chat that are on the ArtsHub or on Arts Extension Service are really helpful. The other thing I would really encourage us all to be thinking about is each other as resources. So if you're looking for a photographer, search for one on CreativeGround or through the ArtsHub, and then reach out to them and see, you might be able to barter some service that you each need. Let's really tap into that creativity that we all have to see everyone as a resource and not just monetary funding. Let's kind of go to each other and not just to sort of the official funders, and that you all have so much richness to share with each other. So I would really encourage to think about how I might find a resource by looking for someone on CreativeGround or the ArtsHub who offers what I might need, and what might I offer them. We answered the question about syncing. Right, no data yet, but there will be as ArtsHub is up and running more. Multiple profiles. Yeah, so grant eligibility is something I can talk about a little bit more. So we have some special designations on the CreativeGround website, whereas again, as Lisa mentioned in the chat, if your profile is up to date and you are a performing artist who tours, you can request what's called NEST eligibility, which is to be eligible for NEFA's New England States Touring Program. Our New England Dance Fund also requires CreativeGround profiles. Our public art programs also require CreativeGround profiles. So it's really intended to be a mutually beneficial system where not only is the grant panel, then have very easy to find information about you, but it also gives you immediate free visibility beyond a grant application and beyond what you might be filling out on your profile for grant eligibility. All the New England state arts agencies use CreativeGround as their arts and culture directories, and where they list artists on any rosters they might have as well. So that's really important, because some other states do allow artists to be on their rosters who are not from their home state. Massachusetts does not have any artist rosters at this time.
One of the things that I just wanted to make sure everybody heard is that there is a section essentially underneath the About section on the ArtsHub website where we're looking at this as kind of phase one of the project, and there's a feedback form that we have there. And I see a lot of requests that saying like, will there be this feature? Will there be that feature on the site? Like, that's what that feedback form would be fantastic for, because the entire, basically we want that feedback to help us guide the direction of the next phase of the site, and obviously coinciding with the launch of CreativeGround's update and everything like that. Like, we see a lot of potential here, but we want to hear from you on what would be essentially most useful there. So the feedback form, we definitely would encourage everybody to take a look through and add suggestions. Again, this is more just about getting up and off the ground and learning from the experience and building an ArtsHub that works for everybody.
And also, I'll just jump in and add that, remember, please come to the Friday session, Friday at noon, for building momentum, building the ArtsHub. You'll get your opportunity to actually share this in a group, and also talk about the direction that this project should go into. This isn't for us, this is yours. So we really want you guys to all participate.
Yeah, I really want to thank you all in Western Mass for really kind of looking at what resources were available that you could partner with. so that you could focus your energy on, you know, the needs of your local community and adding to something that already existed, like CreativeGround. And it's been such a pleasure working with you. And, you know, it's really worth reiterating something that Lisa just posted, where only one profile needs to be created and updated. You're just going to create your profile and update it in CreativeGround, and it's going to magically appear on the ArtsHub website. So, you know, the whole point is that we're really trying to reduce that level of effort, because we all know you're very busy folks. We want you to get to creating, and we'll take care of the infrastructure part, right? But, you know, we all have to help each other with making sure your work is shown, you're getting counted, you're getting the visibility that you need, that, you know, you make that effort to show your creative work online, and we'll kind of get the technical elements working better and better. So your feedback is crucial for that. As you know, I echo Blair in that, and working with you all has just been such a pleasure. I mean, this is very, very exciting for us. It's something we've been working on for a very long time. So thank you all for your great questions and insights.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Did we miss any questions, or are we about wrapped up?
Just see if you have a profile in CreativeGround, then it will get moved over to ArtsHub. As long as it's within the 4 counties of Western Mass, Franklin, Berkshire, Hampden, Hampshire, yes, it will get synced and pulled over into the ArtsHub. You don't need to worry about that. Great. Thanks, everyone. And like Dee mentioned, be sure to tune into her talk on Friday. Again, there's a lot more information about you know, where this is going and how you can get involved.
Oh, Lisa.
Lisa, you are muted. We need our sign.
I know. And again, if you have more questions, you can always just shoot any of us a message, an email, and we'll help you.
Great.
Thank you all.
I will make a plug to, you know, stay tuned and sign up to receive contact from CreativeGround and from NEFA, because we want you to be the first to see the new CreativeGround. I think you're really going to like it. So, you know, we're working behind the scenes, and we're really excited to show the new CreativeGround. We're really hoping that we'll be able to do that very soon. And we want to make sure that you know, are receiving all that contact from CreativeGround and from NEFA about grants and opportunities. So, you know, make sure you sign up to receive those things when you create your CreativeGround profile. Thank you all so much.
Great.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you,
Thanks, everybody.
everyone.
We'll see you at noon.
Enjoy the rest of your summit. Yeah. We work with Dawn too, so she's awesome. Everyone should go to that session.
Right.